Hi, and welcome back to our 60-second highlights on risk. This summer we're focusing on the personal liabilities of directors and officers. And in today's episode number 5, we're talking about some federal and provincial statutes affecting officers and directors. Now, in our last episode, episode number 4, we talked about 2 areas of common law liability facing directors and officers. The first was fiduciary liability, and the second was the duty of care. Today we're going to talk about statutory liabilities. So to start this discussion, let me ask you a broad question. Do you understand the legal environment that you operate in? We looked at a research paper by Jeffrey Carhart, Stephen Wesfield, and Adam Stevens from Miller Thomson LLP, and that paper was entitled Directors and Officers' Personal Liability, a Summary of Federal and Provincial Statutes. The paper was noted as a non-exhaustive review of some federal and Ontario provincial statutes. And noted in that paper was that there were 13 statutes alone governing environmental legislation in Ontario and Canada. The paper also looked at 70 different statutes and acts that can impose liability on directors and officers, covering areas such as securities, obligations to employees, pensions, obligations to government for taxes and source deductions, and other areas. And from each of these pieces of legislation, literally hundreds of sources of liability can arise in areas such as liability for employee wages, failure to deduct, withhold, or remit appropriate taxes, or failure to take reasonable care to prevent discharge of contaminants. So clearly, those managing and overseeing operations of an organization must fully understand the risks of the operation, must fully understand the legal environment in which they operate. So what should you do? First of all, do a risk assessment. Understand the risks of the organization and the industry and the environment in which you operate. Secondly, consult with experts. Speak with proper authorities on the industry and legal counsel who can tell you the full legal environment. Next episode, we'll look at how the Ontario courts found officers and directors personally responsible for the environmental liabilities of North Star Aerospace. So for further reading, I suggest you go to our website, Directors Global, and read the blog Regulatory Risk. Officers and directors face big personal liabilities. Thank you. See you next episode.